Friday, April 14th, 1865. President Abraham Lincoln is attending a performance of the comedy Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. Accompanying them is Major Henry Rathbone, Rathbone's fiancé, and John Parker, an officer tasked with guarding the presidential box. It's a lovely evening, filled with laughter and chatter, and there was nothing to indicate the impending doom. Halfway through the play, Parker leaves his duty post for a nearby tavern, and John Wilkes Booth, a fanatical Confederate supporter who hated Lincoln's staunch anti-slavery stance, makes his way to the president's box. Booth stops right behind Lincoln and aims directly at his head with a single-shot Derringer pistol. The deafening boom of this gunshot and Mary's horrified scream shatters the atmosphere. The bullet had entered right through Lincoln's skull and into his brain. While the tragic event shocked the nation, presidents still didn't get any protection at all. The Founding Fathers were against improving security, stating that the United States was a democratic nation and they did not want the president to become a slave of his office. In fact, it took 2 more assassinations for them to reconsider this position. Today, the President of the United States is protected by specially trained agents called the Secret Service. But this wasn't always the case. Back in 1865, just shortly after the Civil War, a new threat plagued the nation: counterfeiting. Nearly a third of all currency in circulation was fake, threatening the country's economy. To combat this rapidly growing problem, Abraham Lincoln created the U.S. Secret Service, an investigative unit tasked with tracking and intercepting counterfeit currencies. The Secret Service did not become a president-protecting unit until the assassination of 2 U.S. presidents, including Lincoln himself. Back then, the president had no police detail or personal security guard and could be approached by anyone on the streets. Even the White House was only guarded by police officers who were rather seen as doorkeepers and had no special training. After the murder of President William McKinley in 1901, the U.S. Congress finally realized the need to protect its presidents, and the Secret Service was officially charged with that responsibility. The U.S. Secret Service operates through 2 main divisions. Its Protective Division is tasked with ensuring the safety of the president and other individuals under their protection. The President's Security Detail is a meticulously chosen group of agents trained to intercept and position themselves in the way of potential dangers that might come the president's way. They assume a proactive role in what to do during a crisis, medical, or emergency situation. The other half is the Investigative Division, tasked with combating financial crimes such as counterfeiting, cybercrime, and financial fraud. Originally tasked with solely protecting the president, the mission of the Secret Service extended beyond president protection when Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's brother and a leading presidential candidate, was assassinated in 1968. Following the tragic event, the Secret Service was authorized to protect major presidential and vice presidential candidates 4 months before the general presidential election. However, Barack Obama got Secret Service protection 9 months before the first votes were cast, the earliest ever for a presidential candidate, reportedly as a result of multiple threats and assassination attempts by white supremacists and racist groups who weren't pleased with having a leading African-American presidential candidate. This expansion continued, and eventually the Secret Service's responsibilities were broadened to include protecting not only presidents and presidential candidates, but also the president's immediate family, the vice president's immediate family, former presidents and their immediate families, visiting heads of state, diplomats, and other individuals by executive order of the president. The protection provided varies, depending on the individual's level of importance and perceived threat. For high-profile figures such as the president and major presidential candidates, the Secret Service employs various security measures, including round-the-clock physical protection. Yep, even when the president needed a quick shower. During public appearances, advance teams were sent to assess potential risks, monitor access points and communication channels for any threats, and collaborate with local law enforcement agencies of the areas to ensure meticulous security coverage. While the presidency of the United States is a position of immense power and influence, it comes with a heavy price of making difficult decisions that may earn the president animosity, resulting in death threats and assassination attempts. And since the assassination of 4 U.S. presidents, the Secret Service has become hyper-vigilant, taking extra steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. The president is believed to be most exposed outside of the White House, and for this reason, a multi-layered security approach is employed to keep the president safe, starting from his clothes. The president wears a specially designed suit made of bullet-resistant fibers that can mitigate the impact of low-caliber ammunition fired at the president. As president, public appearances with large crowds are inevitable, and large crowds increase the president's threat level. So before the president goes to any event, advanced Secret Service agents do a thorough security assessment of the area weeks or even months out of schedule. Metal detectors, explosive detection dogs, aerial surveillance, and advanced technological equipment are used to do a clean sweep of the areas within near proximity of the president's location. Because the president is most vulnerable outside the White House, his routes are all meticulously planned and secured long before his arrival. For long-distance travel, the president travels on either the Marine Force helicopter or the Air Force aircraft, also known as Air Force One. But for shorter trips under 30 minutes, the presidential motorcade is often used. The motorcade route is meticulously mapped out and barricaded by metal barriers that are heavily guarded by law enforcement officers to deter anyone from breaching the barriers. It consists of about 40 to 50 vehicles, including the lead car, armored suburban vehicles that would ram into any car trying to ambush the president's motorcade, the electronic countermeasure Suburban that sends out radio frequencies to block any remote-activated explosives, and the Hammer team that can immediately respond to biological or nuclear attacks. Other personnel in this U.S. motorcade include the counter-assault team, the president's medical staff unit, the ID car, and the press corps. At the heart of the motorcade, there are two identical limos with the exact same registration plates, a security measure to keep the president's exact position unknown from potential attackers. The presidential limo, known as the Beast, is a custom-made limo built to provide maximum security to the president. Its body is made up of aluminum, steel, and ceramic materials, with each door weighing as much as a Boeing 757 cabin door. Its door handles can be activated to send a 120-volt electric shock to any intruder. Its windows have 5 layers of bulletproof glass that can withstand hits from any ammunition. The floor of the vehicle is made of armored floor plates designed to mitigate the impact of underground mines or grenades, and the entire vehicle is hermetically sealed with its own oxygen supply in case of biological or nuclear attacks. The Beast also has a firefighting system, CO2 tanks that release CO2 in case of a fire, and a fuel tank filled with foam that separates the gasoline, reducing the risk of an explosion. At the front of the Beast are strobe lights that can distract and blind attackers, night vision optics that allow the driver to navigate through any visual obstruction outside, and a tear gas dispenser that can release a cloud of tear gas. Inside the vehicle are 2 pints of the president's blood in case of emergency situations, rocket-powered grenades, pump-action shotguns, and carbine rifles. Because of the armored body, very little sound can enter the cabin, so the president is provided with speakers that allow the president to communicate with Secret Service agents outside, a laptop, and a satellite phone with direct lines to the vice president and the Pentagon. And if you're wondering who drives the limo, you're probably right. The drivers of the Beast are service agents that undergo a series of specialized training, including city familiarization, that would help them easily navigate through danger and emergency situations. When the president needs to travel long distances, the Marine Corps helicopter, or Marine One, and the Air Force aircraft, or Air Force One, are used to get him to his destination. As a security measure, Marine One never flies alone. It's followed by 5 to 6 identical helicopters, which shuffle positions at intervals. As for Air Force One, the president is always the last person to board the plane. Once in, the aircraft takes off immediately. All of this is at no small cost. Transporting the president and sometimes his motorcade runs into thousands of dollars, costing American taxpayers about $350 million annually. That's 1/4 of the $1.4 billion White House budget. With the multi-layered duty of the President of the United States, it's only right that they enjoy a few perks for the rest of their life. One such is continued protection by the Secret Service. Thanks to the Former President's Protection Act of 2012, former presidents of the United States and their spouses are entitled to protection by the United States Secret Service for the rest of their lives. Their children will also be protected until they become 16 years of age. This is because their unique position and actions during office make them potential targets to dissatisfied groups or individuals. Over time, the Secret Service has combined its original role of investigating and counterfeiting and other financial crimes with protecting the president, vice president, and other VIPs, ultimately handling the nation's financial security and the security of its leaders.